Now please welcome to the set the amazing Kevin McCarthy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was actually Kevin. She underlined the W. It's important to say the W. I should have asked that. Kevin W. McCarthy. Tell everybody who you are and a little bit about what you do. Tell us about your business.
Sure. Basically, I started off a number of years ago coming out of graduate business school. I was a commercial real estate developer, and as a result of that, I had a business divorce that was ugly and really got me to think about my life and what was going on, what was important. As a result of that, I ended up creating a real estate advisory business for small and medium-sized companies. I then discovered that it wasn't real estate advice that they needed, it was business advice they needed. So I migrated from business advice from real estate advice into business advice, and then I discovered it was really life advice that they needed, that if I could get to the owner of the business or the person that's got a P&L responsibility, could be a commission salesperson, that if I could help them get their life put together in a better way and then begin to build from the inside out, that everything tended to work much better for them. So in the late 1980s, I created basically this whole on-purpose approach. So in the 1980s, I was talking about purpose before anybody else really was. And then even today, I mean, one of the things that you'll find is that many people just don't understand what purpose is. And purpose, vision, mission, and values are the language of strategy. And if that's the language of business, which is strategy, and you're building your business on a strategy or not, hopefully you are on a strategy, but if you don't understand the language of business, then you're really confused. As a result, that confusion translates out. So what I created was an integrated approach to being able to do life and work using common language, common systems, common models. And so for instance, the difference between purpose, vision, mission, and values is one of those things that I think people use these words all the time, and yet we don't have them defined. It's kind of like doing life before the USB computer, the thing, to plug and play, it was really difficult. You couldn't do it. In much the same way, we are there intellectually. We're confused and we're not able to plug and play as easily. So purpose is a matter of the heart. And so if you sort of touch your heart, you sort of look at it and say, it's looking at this larger question of who am I? And purpose is a matter of the heart that answers, why am I here? If we don't know why we're here, we don't have a profound sense of who we are and why we're here, then we're just sort of occupying time and space and keeping busy.
Let me ask you a question. I think that there's probably a lot of people that are watching online that they feel as though their only purpose is to take care of their children or to keep a roof over the head, food on the table, take care of my children. Would you say that everybody that's a good purpose, but do you think everybody has a bigger purpose?
Well, what I would say is that that's a mission. That's a time, a season in life where you are living out, it's a role that you have, but it's not a purpose. A purpose transcends all relationships, including children, marriage, business associates, whatever it might be. So that if you understand that a purpose is something that lives in your heart, if you're with your children, which is missions are in our hands, then we're busy with that. But the truth is it's kind of like all this electricity that's going on right now. These are all empty units, whether it's the lights, the microphones, the cameras, whatever is going on. Purpose is spiritual electricity that runs through us. So that a lot of people, whenever they feel very empty, it's kind of like they don't have that it's spiritual electricity running through them. And so they're going through the motions because of that emptiness. So whenever you look at purpose being a matter of the heart, then vision is a matter of the mind's eye. It's the head. Where am I going? So this is why, this is where, and then the missions are how do I do it? So in other words, and then I help people write two-word purpose statements, such as igniting joy, liberating greatness, awakening worth. These are examples of two-word purpose statements with a generic beginning that says, I exist to serve by. And then as you live that out, this I exist to serve by, liberating greatness, you then look at it and say, well, I can be liberating greatness in my children. I can be liberating greatness in my customers. I can be liberating greatness in my marriage. I can be liberating greatness teaching Sunday school with children, whatever it might be. So you see that purpose is not an activity, it's a state of being. And that's the mistake I think a lot of people make, is they see that they think their purpose is their children, but then the children grow up or they get sort of gnarly at a certain age and they don't want anything to do with you. And you're saying, now all of a sudden their identity is wrapped up in something that is really not what it's supposed to be wrapped up around. It's about letting these kids grow up and go out. And so what happens is when your heart, your head, and your hands are out of alignment, in other words, your purpose, your vision, and your missions are not connected, and then the values which govern all of these are in the throat and in the gut. And these are answering the question of what's important. So whenever your why, your where, your how, and your what's important are working all together, you're on your purpose. So it's a very high standard. But once you sort of reach that ideal, that state, then you begin to align your life. You actually find it's a very easy, simple way to live. Not to say that life gets easier,
right,
but your ability to cope with what's going on around you, life becomes far less stressful. You have a sense of saying when to say no and when to say yes, which I think a lot of people struggle with, and particularly I'm going to speak, because I've done a lot of work with women over the years.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you.
We have a lot of trouble saying no to certain things that are going on. And so it's this ability to do that. Then as that translates into your business, you see what I found in businesses is most businesses don't have a sense of who they are, why they're here, where they want to go, how they want to get there, and what's important along the way. And a lot of times they get so wrapped up in making money. If you look at the definition of what is purpose, or people say, what's the purpose of a business? And a lot of times what you'll hear people say, it's to make money. Well, that is a true definition from an economics and an accounting point of view. But when you get into the reality of life in terms of business as a part of life, that actually the purpose of a business is to serve, it's to make a difference, it's to contribute. And so what happens is in business, it's so easy to get wrapped up in just the money piece that we forget the larger picture of what it's about, which is to make that difference, to contribute. Profit is a great thing. Profit is a great thing because the profit motive helps us lower costs, create higher quality. It helps us to make it faster, better, all of these things. And as a result, society benefits when there's a profit motive at work because, yeah, you and I might be competing, and I might win the business this month, and the next month you might win the business. But at the end, the customer is winning. And in other words, society is winning. And so whenever we understand that as we are serving better and better by delivering lower prices, higher quality, faster delivery, better service, whatever it might be, that's actually a good thing. And it's the profit motive that gets us there.
I think you're exactly right. I think if you think about it this way, wouldn't it better to be a prophet than to earn a profit,
yes,
in everything that you do? Because it's true. It's how do you serve others? And I love the fact that you said, does your vision match up? Because it's no different than Chick-fil-A and some of the things they've done, right, or Four Rivers and some of the things that they've done. My business consultant, the person that I hired as my business consultant in the very beginning, the one thing that he told me to remove from my business plan is allowing an opportunity for women to keep their faith first, their family second, and their career third. And I said, absolutely not, because that's the reason why WOAMTEC started, is I felt out of balance and I needed something that was going to help me keep my balance in order in the priorities that I knew that they should be. So I love that.
You
it was out of
coaching?
Absolutely.
Forget balance. It's a myth.
Okay.
What you want is you want integration. And your purpose.
That makes sense, absolutely.
Your purpose is the point of integration. Because if you're trying to balance, you've got two things working. Well, it's just not that simple. All of life is happening around us. But somewhere along the line, we need a point that is unchangeable. That purpose is, that two-word purpose statement tends to be unchanging for us. Our understanding and refinement of it may tend to grow over time. But then whenever you have a point of purpose, then it becomes a lens through which you're able to live and move through life and through business, always being true to who you are. And then if you're true to who you are, we are all better off. Mm-hmm. If you're living a lie, we're all worse off. So I like to say, on purpose, be yourself, prosper, which means prosper is a word that's been really sort of turned around in our society. To prosper means that we're all better off. So it's be yourself, prosper, make a difference. And it's really the make a difference is almost a byproduct. If you are true to who you are, you will prosper. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get rich necessarily.
Right.
But it's this sense of prosper, which is the richness of the word, the fullness of it. An abundant life, if you will. And then you will, in essence, just by being who you are, you will make a difference, because just the people that come in contact with you are going to say, wow, you blessed me in some way today. Just a word you spoke to me, or something you did, or the way you served me in this business transaction was so remarkable. What is it that's different about you? It's those sorts of things that you will make a difference just by being you. Do you know,
you just triggered something that before the show we were talking a little bit about being who you are and being authentic and authentically you. you also mentioned an analogy or a scenario about like American Idol
Right.
contestants and The Voice contestants. I think that that's true because I think that's a better way for everybody that's watching to understand what does it mean to be an authentic you and to stay true to who you are. So what's your
Right.
take on that?
Yeah, well, absolutely. What happens is whenever you'll hear the contestants will say something to, or I'm sorry, the judges will say something to a contestant on American Idol, you don't know who you are, even though the person has technically, they've got great abilities with their voice. They may look great, they may have all of these things going on, but they're empty on the inside. They're this shell. And so what they're really saying to them is because you don't know who you are, you don't have an ability to take the music to the place where it's just you're singing notes, but you're not making music. And it's that ability to connect. It's that ability to really reach out into the hearts and lives and soul, because whenever you're singing the song, it's real, it's you, it's who you are. And the same thing is true whenever you're making a sales call. If you don't have a voice, if you don't have that authentic self where you look at it and say, let's just say your purpose was awakening worth, and you look at it and say, here I am in this transaction, and I may be selling this container that's for Kleenex, but if my heart is in it, in terms of not necessarily how it's made or all those sorts of things, but the difference it's going to make for that person and understanding the customer and the customer's customer and the customer's customer's
Right.
customer. You're thinking through what that relationship looks like. Now you're focusing in on the people rather than the fact that it's 6 inches tall, it's 4 inches wide, it's made this, and it's not. We can talk features and benefits, but that's all good. But features and benefits matter, but only because it's the people that it makes the difference. And if you don't have that service orientation of saying, how am I awakening worth with this product, then you're missing it.
Absolutely, to solve a problem. I mean, people buy things that solve a problem or fulfill a need that they have.
Right.
They don't buy it because it's so many inches and so much height, or because it's even a price point.
Right.
If they focus on price point, there's something bigger that you have to overcome and you have to get to get real with what's important to them.
Right.
I can't. Deanna talked earlier about buying buying a car. Buying a Prius or a Rolls Royce. It bothers me when I see salespeople that are so focused on selling that they don't take the time to say, how many kids do you need? What's important to you? What are the things that you're looking for? So you stop wasting my time, but you begin connecting with who I am as a person and what we're looking for, which is important. So now you offer all sorts of training. I can tell you've got a lot to share. You've got a lot that you can educate people. Tell us about your books, because I know you're giving away 3 sets, and that's so generous. I'm so thankful, because I know that we have a lot of viewers that can benefit from these sets and this information. I'm excited about reading them as well, but tell us about it.
Well, The On-Purpose Person is sort of the flagship book. People say to me, where do I begin? Because really what they are is together, the On-Purpose Person and the On-Purpose Business Person, they represent an integrated approach to doing life and work. And whether your work is stay-at-home mom, or whether it's running a business, or whether it's being a salesperson, whatever it might be, what I found is that people were trying to balance life and work, and forget that. You need an integrated approach. So the on-purpose person is that piece. I have this principle that I think is sort of the organizational development of E equals MC squared. It's the theory of relativity in organizational development, which is when the purpose of the person is aligned with the purpose of the organization, it's magical. So what we need to do is, it says, if you don't know who you are, then you're not able to bring the power and the passion of who you are into the relationships that you're a part of. But if you know who you are, then you can. Now, if you're charged with an organization, and believe me, if you were married, you've got an organization called a marriage,
right,
or children, you've got a family, that's an organization, or a school, or whatever it might be. On the other side of the coin is, if you are in charge of something, if you don't know the purpose of that organization, then you're not able to invite people in to connect and find out greater and deeper meaning in terms of how they can make a difference. Well, a lot of people will come in with what I call technically connected to it. They may not have what I call the tingle factor, which is a way of saying, oh my gosh, I get to do this. This is so exciting. I love to do what I do.
Right.
And whenever you can find that combination of I'm well suited for it and I'm just delighted and thrilled to be able to do this, that's where it makes a huge difference. So these books are really the foundational piece of how to articulate your purpose, vision, mission, and values as a person, as well as organizing your life so you're on purpose, and then how to organize your work life or your business in such a way that you're also on purpose. It's very simple, easy reading, and all of that.
Now, I want to stop you for just a second, and I'm going to probably offend a couple people here right now, but I feel as though it's important to say. Because I am a 9 times published author through a publisher who paid me to write a book,
Right.
or 9 of them, And because a lot of printers are becoming glorified printers now, because the printing industry has completely changed, because everything's going electronic, and I get it, you have to restructure and you're trying to figure out how to save your industry. But there are a lot of people that have come on the show. There are a lot of members that I've come into contact with that are self-publishing. Now, you are now self-publishing, but I think that it's important because it'll add validity to you. How many copies of this book are you talking? Like, did you order 100 of them from Amazon or something like that?
No, this book has sold over close to 300,000 copies. It was the #1 book on Amazon Kindle Free in April of 2012, where it was the #1 nonfiction book of all. There's two categories in the book business: nonfiction and fiction, and it was the #1 book in nonfiction for Kindle Free in April of 2012. There were 32,500 downloads in that month. So, I mean, it's a remarkable book in that regard.
And people will, that is something that says a lot about it, because people will share, they will comment, they will testimony. Like, I know for me to sell 4,000 books in a year, and granted my industry was photography, so it was a smaller niche, but to sell 4,000 books in a year was good, So when you can do that many, that's incredible. Yeah. So kudos to you for that. It's a good product.
And then this has done about 30,000 copies, which, and you're right, actually the average book that actually sells and gets on the store shelves may sell 3,000 copies. People don't realize how low the numbers are with book sales. So that these are truly bestsellers. I mean, I generally don't use the word best-selling author because I just sort of feel like it's puffing up.
Right.
But the truth is they are bestsellers in that regard.
Well, and I look forward to reading them. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, though, was it's kind of like my new pet peeve that I'm in, and that's why, Diane, I love you. I'm not referring to you because I am definitely going to use you and work with you. But it's kind of like my new pet peeve because as I'm talking to coaches, trainers, consultants, people because it's easy to use those terms. It's easy to use that title. There's nothing that says you're not able to call yourself a coach or a trainer or a consultant. As I'm talking to people like this, I'm learning more and more that there are a lot of people that are either unemployed because of the recession. There are a lot of people that are in life changes, which they may be in their 50s and they may have spent 25 years in a career, and now all of a sudden, they're in a life change where they're having to make a difference. So what's the next thing I do? Well, I guess I'll start consulting. And they may or may not be qualified. And so I just want to take a moment because I do know you are very qualified. And I want to just emphasize a couple of things to look for. Like, I have found that if the consultant that you're hiring isn't earning what you desire to earn on an annual basis, and there's a lot of key factors that you can find out as to whether or not that's true, then I would say that could be a red flag. If they haven't been in business for a period of time, that could be a red flag. Look at their LinkedIn profile, look at their resume, like truly get a feel for who this person is. So tell us a little bit about your qualifications, because you haven't said that. And I would hire you because I respect who you are and what you've accomplished and what you've done in life. And I just want my members to be protected, because I have had members spend thousands of dollars with even other members that if I would have known they were going to do that transaction, probably would have consulted otherwise, only because I know that there's difference between being a consultant, a business advisor, or a coach, because you're trying to generate revenue, and being a consultant, an advisor, or a coach because you really want to empower someone to make a huge difference in their life, and you have the knowledge and the education to do so. So,
sure. Well, I mean, the short version of it is that I started in business at age 9. So I'm turning 59 on Christmas Day. So I've actually been in business almost 50 years. And I mean, not just sort of casually at it. I mean, I was sort of bit by the bug at age 9 to be in business. I used to read Forbes magazine and Fortune. When I was 12, my dad would bring it home and I would read it, or I'd steal it away. I didn't necessarily understand it, but I was reading it. I then decided I wanted to go to college to get a business degree because I wanted to be a business person. I wanted to be the president of my own company. Then I did that. Then after working a couple years, I was the general manager of an indoor tennis, racquetball, and swim club where I ran a business. It was bankrupt. And then I was part of bringing it out of bankruptcy, which was really fun and great experience at age 23 to do. At 26, I then went off to graduate business school at the University of Virginia's Darden Graduate Business School, which is...
Oh, that school's horrible.
It's a horrible school. That's right. Just incredible education, particularly for entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
and then I went to work in the commercial real estate business, and after a year of that, I decided it was time to start my own business, which I did. And so I've now had businesses for 30 years in commercial real estate, publishing, consulting. It's just been a sort of a fun run for all these years. And frankly, what I really say, I'm able to talk to people because I understand the business stuff, but more importantly, I understand the life stuff. And what I realized is kind of like my daughter who's 20 years old and at Chapel Hill, and she sent me a business plan the other day and said, Dad, look this over, which is a real compliment to have your daughter do that. And she said, look over this business plan, Dad. And I looked at it and I said, Ann, this is a great little business plan, but the big question you want to ask yourself is, if you're going to do this business, are you prepared for the lifestyle that it's going to demand? Because she was looking at opening up a coffee shop. And I said, it's 24/7, or it could be 24/7, 365. And if you're going to be in that kind of a business, just recognize you're making a lifestyle decision before you make a business decision. Right. And it doesn't matter who we are. If we don't look at the lifestyle, we might say, well, I can make a ton of money being an investment banker. But you might be working 120 hours a week, and you might be traveling and away from your family. If you haven't thought through the lifestyle issues, then you are in essence building a cage that is so gilded that you may never get out of it.
Absolutely.
Or you feel like you're trapped, or you can't get out of it. And so what I'm really about is giving people a key to maybe open up their lives and see it, but then how to bring that into expression in a business to where they can either recalibrate their life or their business in such a way that they're now able to move forward and really create the life that they really wanted at the beginning, way back when maybe they were younger and they dreamed of something, and now they've sort of gotten sort of tired and maybe a little worn out with what's going on, and feeling somewhat discouraged about, one of the biggest interesting things I've had with people tell me about the On Purpose Person is I was afraid to read the book. And I go, why would you be afraid to read a book about getting your life better?
Right.
And they said, because I realized I was going to have to face some of the things that maybe I was afraid to look at. And I look at it and say, look, rather than waste years just being afraid of it, just go for it. It's a fun, easy to read book. It's a simple, fun process. And you'll discover who you are in the midst of it. And rather than, God can redeem the days.
Absolutely.
If he can make the world in 7 days, whether you want to view that literally or figuratively, that's up to you. He can reinvent your life in 7 seconds.
I think that's awesome. And you know what? I think that this is a great transition because we do have to wrap up the show to give away those 3 books.
Absolutely.
So if you are somebody that's been watching this segment, if you're somebody that's there that needs to change their life, whether it takes 7 days or longer, if you're somebody that's in transition, if you're somebody that just feels as though you're not living on purpose and you feel as though you may be able to connect with these books, I would say, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, the best way is probably through onpurpose.com. Just go to onpurpose.com. There's a contact information there, as well as they can sign up for the On Purpose Minutes, which are free videos that come out twice a week for about a minute to a minute and a half each on Tuesdays and Thursdays on personal leadership and business leadership. And that's
love it.
Yeah, it's kevinwmccarthy.com or just onpurpose.com. We'll get them there.